Good evening, people. According to the technology, should be coming through to you loud and clear now. Welcome to another Brews at 10 on my left eye. Solidari-Tea, everybody. How are you brewing this evening? I'm launching in straight away with the tea puns. Welcome to the stream, everybody. We've got Octo in the chat, Andy Carter, Morbius, great to see you. Hope you're having a good start to the week. Thanks for choosing to kick things off with me, your host Lefty, this evening. And for another weekday live stream. Got some developing stories as well as a few bits that we'll be catching up on as well. Solidari-Tea. With a Palestine flag and a fist in the air, that's what I like to see, Morbius. Start the week as you mean to go on. Right, people, so what's coming up? It's been revealed that Starmer's going to be cancelling a lot of the areas that were scheduled to have local elections next year. Tisk tisk. I'm more disappointed than shocked. I'll be talking about that as well as the likely reasons for it. There was a bit of a spoiler at the start of the stream, actually. That latest poll just being one of the exhibits, one of the pieces of evidence of his drop in popularity. And the word record keeps coming up in these polls as well recently as well. That's how bad it's getting. And Andy Carter, thanks for reminding us solidarity with Lebanon as well as Palestine there, of course. So yeah, we've got that to talk about, plus other things. This Thames water scandal. There's going to be a protest about this as well. Essentially, not only do they want to take taxpayers' money, not run the water company very well at all, pollute the environment at the same time, in tandem. What a bunch of saints. Now they want to cover the costs of that with bill payers' money rather than the shareholders yet again. So there's a few bits about that as well as the protest, including Marina Purkiss, who was on daytime TV earlier with Jacob Rees-Mogg's wife. Quite an exchange there. So it looks like with the TV series, you know, the bottom's fallen out of that. The Meet the Rees-Moggs, wasn't it? She's now having to go at doing politics on daytime TV. So I'll be taking a look at that, obviously, as well as keeping up with the latest in the Middle East. Plus lots more, including the Royal Mail takeover. Of course, it's going to be bought by a Czech billionaire. Plus, there's a couple of other bits and pieces. Prince Andrew's in even more trouble. That's an update on the downward spiral in Andy Pandy's life. Oh, he's not going to the party. Oh, boo. Floor Snake, how are you flowing this evening? Solidari-Tea, nice to see you again. Yes, so people, please do make sure you've hit the thumbs up button on the stream. Helps to get us out there on that good old algorithm. Thanks a lot for sharing content and streams around your social media recently as well. I'll just say a quick bit about social media. I'll get my stall out for a few moments. So currently on Twitter, always Twitter, never X. Blue Sky recently as well, and Mastodon. So it's My Left Eye UK for Twitter and Blue Sky, and it's just My Left Eye for Mastodon. So please do give us a follow if you're on those platforms, and we will duly follow you back. If you're listening and you're not subscribed, just hit the button there. You can join the chat just 1 minute later, literally. Also, super chats are open on the channel, and super thanks for anybody watching back on a replay. And another great way to support the channel is with a membership, and I believe Andy Carter is celebrating 6 months of membership. Thanks a lot for that, Andy. It's been great to have you here over the last half a year. And if you'd like to join Andy and all these other fantastic comrades here on the roster, it's just 99 pence. And there's exclusive content and other perks for you to enjoy, so please do consider that. It does help to broaden the community as well as promote the channel, so thanks a lot to every single one of you. Also, those of you gifted, as I said, memberships to other viewers recently. Glad to see you flowing good, Flow Snake. And there is a poll up in the chat that's available to everybody to answer. I've just thrown this one out there because there's been a few murmurings going around I've noticed recently about the potential developments of a party formed of, at the moment, potentially 5 independent candidates, most famously, of course, former Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. So this, well, it's not a party at the moment. These have been the mutterings about whether it will become a party or not. Because there have been some meetings in Parliament recently about parliamentary standards about the definition of parties. For example, Reform are a PLC. They're not actually a political party. But before I get too distracted, if they do become a party and they do stand in the 2029 election, would you give them your vote? And I'll put the third option up there for unsure, because obviously it's very early days yet. I'm not trying to swing anyone's opinion between yes, no, or unsure at the moment. I'll share my thoughts at the end when the poll closes, but please do give us your opinion. Thanks to everybody who's voted so far. It's certainly an interesting one. It certainly could put the cat amongst the pigeons. Although the concept of it, I believe, is to counteract, be the mirror opposite of Reform on a socialist platform, of course. Not a pointing at the coast. I'll get onto that a little bit later, though. Mobius, that's a good question. Just for clarity about the poll, it's very hypothetical at the moment. I should stipulate that. That's a reservation. Hypothetically, if one of the candidates was in your constituency, would you vote for them? So just imagine it was the same candidates as this year, but with that as an extra option as well. It's the best way I can describe it. If you can visualise, visualise yourselves going into the ballot there. Whether it be Jeremy Corbyn or another MP. Of course, all of the apparent 5 members at the moment unseated Labour candidates in the last election, including Corbyn himself, the first time he'd stood against a Labour candidate, and including another who won in a constituency that was brand new, which was highly expected to go Starmer's way. Well, tough luck, Keith. Okay, cool. So that's the ground rules, I guess, for the poll. Thanks a lot, like I said. Come back to that later on. That's actually, yeah, good point. I know that there are some of you out there are actually in North Islington, so... Gonna have to put another footnote on the poll. Right, so I believe I've gotten through all of the formalities. Thank you, shout outs and things like that. So let's get going with the first article. Right, I'll cue this up. It's been rumoured for a bit, but now it has been confirmed. That rather than take a drubbing in a lot of areas in the next council election, Keith's going to put them off. I'm just going to pull up a tweet here. They're still tweets, by the way. I do recommend following this account on the Tory Fibs fact-checking account. Let's just bring this up. There we are, so they're going to be put back by either a year or 2 years. Who knows? Who knows? Not all of them, I should point out, I should clarify, but many of the council elections, it says, scheduled for May Day next year. They'll take place in 2026 to 2027 instead. Well, why could this be, people? This is quite confusing, isn't it? Well, let's take a look at some recent statistics, polling, policy, this kind of thing, you know, the whole politics thing. Where to begin? I'll come back to the comments in a sec. There's a couple of really good comments in there. But what could have prompted Starmer to make such a move? Is it perhaps, you know, the neo-libs were all correct, all the Starmeroids were bang on, and he is playing 3D chess. This is some kind of master political tactic, some unprecedented way of doing things that's bound to bring success to not only his party but also citizens of the United Kingdom? Or could it just be a cowardly manoeuvre to avoid a drubbing in many areas? Well, let's take a look at that poll that I put up at the start of the stream first of all. This is from Stats for Lefties, as you can see there. All-time low. Dissatisfaction overall, just 27% say satisfied, 61% say dissatisfied. And that goes right up to December of this year, starting in July, when of course they won the election. So that's one factor, but also take a look at this. Comparable to previous prime ministers, and when you cast your minds back recently or to the 2010s or even further ago than that, all of the things that the country's been put through, and you look at this. So this is after 5 months, just 5 months. Sorry, the logo's blocking a bit of the all that. So satisfaction with Prime Minister after 5 months. Question is how satisfied is he or her? Are you that he or her is doing their job as Prime Minister? And there he is, right at the top there. You can, I don't know if you can make that out. So the blue bit is satisfied, as I said there, 27% and 61% dissatisfied, which is a net of minus 34%. And he's the worst of the bunch. And just look at who we've got here. So we're more dissatisfied with him overall, apparently, than we were with Sunak, with Johnson, with May, with Cameron, Gordon Brown, Tony Blair, John Major. John Major. His spitting image character was grey, and he had an obsession with peas. And people still think he had more charisma than Keith. And then before that, of course, Thatcher. Awful. Awful. So let's just sort of, I'll try and quickly rank those, just based on satisfaction alone. I guess, yeah, after Starmer, people were least satisfied with Brown. And obviously, he took a record loss at the only election that he ever stood in as Labour leader. Minus 91 seats. So it's not been looking good for Keith. I know this is just an absolute affront to democracy on a local level. What's going on? Let's take a look at the chat. See what you're thinking here. Yeah, oh, sorry. Hit the mic. Probably blow your ears off if you're wearing headphones there, sorry about that. Well, it looks like there's going to be a massive swing away from Labour some recent polling has suggested that will go towards reform. But I think overall, the Tories look set to lose the most votes to reform. But we have seen in recent council elections a lot of gains for independents and the Greens, which is something I was hoping would be mirrored in the general election. It did turn out to that to a certain extent, but not as far as I would have hoped, obviously. It's still great that, you know, the Greens got a record number of seats and there are a record number of independents. Now that's something to start from. But I'll be honest, I was genuinely intrigued as to what was going to come in the May election. There are still going to be some that are happening. This trilateral commission thing that he's into as well does come into this. He's not a great fan of democracy within his own party. And now it seems on a local level as well. We've also seen this on a national level, or a parliamentary level, I should say, regarding the SNP ceasefire vote earlier on this year. You all remember that, back at the start of the year. So this is the latest example of that. Here's another exhibit, something else which has led us here. I'm just going to turn the background music down. Got a bit of a clip for you. So this is Sol Staniforth. This is where I found it. I'm not sure if he's the original poster, but he gets a shout out anyway. One sec, I'll just pause it. So we know Keith's very good at going back and forth and changing his mind on policy, U-turns, hypocrisy, sticking his finger in the air, seeing which way the wind's blowing every day. As well as being an outright liar, I have to be frank. And this is a really well put together compilation of examples of the sort of thing I was just talking about. And this was actually in response to a post by Kim Leadbeater, who's wondering. So she says the political contest of the 2020s is now between those of us trying to fix the loss of trust in politics and those helping to exploit it. And Sol Staniforth has posted this reply as an answer to why perhaps we have lost trust in politics. She again, I mean, like right on cue, almost, is actually one of the MPs who was parachuted in by Starmer with the aforementioned decline of democracy within the Labour Party itself. Ironically, why does nobody trust us? Maybe one of the reasons is that, yeah, people who he likes get thrown in instead of previous winners. And now this. Just check the volumes up there.
Pleased to be here this morning supporting the staff at McDonald's who are on strike. And they're not asking the earth, they're asking for the basics. 15 quid an hour, that ought to be the norm. A fundamental shift in our policy from 2015 to 2017 and then to 2019 to a more radical politics was the right fundamental shift. There's a lot of thinking now that the old argument that you need to just balance the book as quickly as possible just isn't right anymore. But we're committed to updating the GRA to introduce self-declaration for trans people. They vilified him, and they knew what they were doing, and they knew why they were doing it. And it was so important to her, however ill she was, as a matter of absolute principle, she felt that you shouldn't make money from mental health. And it is a matter of principle. It's an absolute matter of principle. I want to pay tribute to Jeremy Corbyn, who led our party through some really difficult times.
What about university tuition fees then? Will you remain committed to scrapping them in
They're
your
all
first term?
pledges, Andrew. So the answer to these questions is yes.
So university tuition fees being scrapped will be in a Starmer manifesto?
Yes, that's why it's
the
a
next
pledge.
election.
And we cannot be factional. Climate change is the issue of our time. And as the Extinction Rebellion protest showed us this week, the next generation are not going to forgive us if we don't take action. There's been lots of talk. Now we need action. I have supported schemes where cannabis possession is not arrested. You're not arrested for it. You're not prosecuted for it. And I believe in that. On electoral reform, we've got to address the fact that millions of people vote in safe seats and they feel their vote doesn't count. And that's got to be addressed. We will never get full participation in our electoral system until we do that. Don't make the mistake we made in 2010 after the financial crash, which was to think that the way through this is to go for austerity and really severe cuts to public services. That was a complete mistake, in my view. Jeremy Corbyn made our party the party of anti-austerity, and he was right to do so. We must retain that. We build on that. We don't trash it as we go forward.
Do you think it's important for people to be able to trust you?
Of course it is.
What? You gotta be fucking kidding.
Well, he certainly has changed his tune on those matters, hasn't he? Whether it was Corbyn, tuition fees, minimum wage, the litany of issues that came up there. That's a really good compilation clip. Shout out to Sol Staniforth. I'm not certain that he did put that together, but that's my source of the clip. Great stuff. It's just unbelievable. And look at what we've got now. Look at what Starmer's putting out now. We saw more of that recently as well with that Emily Thornberry clip that I brought up yesterday on the Sunday live stream. Winter fuel payments, 2-child benefit cap. You name it, he lies about it. Kit, great to see you in the chat, as well as Alwyn. Welcome back. Yeah, hope you're all good. You've been off on your travels. And that's a good point as well, Alwyn. It's more obvious, now than ever before, that he is backed by the Zios, paid to infiltrate the Labour Party and destroy it from within, basically. He was a major component in that for reasons that we now know. And the idea was to get an absolute Blairite right into Britain's seat of power and be able to continue the bidding of such underhanded forces, shall we say. So let's have a look at some of the comments on that tweet from earlier. Just bring that one up. Yeah, just 2 or 3 responses from that. Let's see what the broader world has been saying about it. and then I'll move on to other matters. Okay, so we've got a few mentions of the Trilateral Commission. And this one as well is a really good point. So he was pushing for an early general election because he knew the Tories were unpopular at the time, but now he's chickening out on democracy because he knows that he's unpopular in this time. Does anyone still think we live in a democracy? And the Cowardly Lion there from The Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Well, keep me posted on that one, speaking of posts. Oh yeah, what a wimp. Okay, let's move on with this Thames water business. See what's happening. So the long and short of it is that they're going to be in courts essentially asking for a multi-billion-pound payout of public money to save them because they've been absolutely crap at running the water company, which has gone into the ground and obviously been detrimental to the environment, as I mentioned, with regards to sewage dumping, water wastage, you name it. So they're going cap in hand to the court to try and get a grant for some public money, and it's obviously widely known that the shareholders aren't going to take the hit for that, so the money's going to be passed on to consumers, i.e. Thames Water customers, and it has a reputation for being one of the worst run in the country. So let's hear from a few familiar faces first. I'll start with the man who needs no introduction because probably already mentioned him at least 3 times on the stream. Who's this guy?
Thames Water are in court on the 17th of December. You might say about time too. Because it's run up massive debts, because it's paid massive salaries to its chief executive and directors, and because it's paid huge profits to shareholders all over the world. And what have we got for it? Very high bills, inadequate water system, disgraceful pollution of rivers, and pouring raw sewage into the sea as well. That's Thames Water's record ever since it was privatised. 90% of the world do not have privatised water companies because they value water as the basic commodity we all need. And so I think it's time to say, bring water into public ownership so that we own it, we control it, and we can make sure what happens to it. So we're not pouring money into shareholders' pockets. Instead, we're putting money where it's needed in reform and improvement of our water supply system and keeping our rivers and our seas cleaner. Surely that's something we can all agree on. And so instead of going through this legal process, the government should intervene and take Thames Water into public ownership.
Well said, Jeremy. Oh, and just a quick plug here. This is for the We Own It campaign, which Corbyn's a backer of, as well as others. We're going to see another member in a bit. That just prompted me as well. After that great mini speech there by Corbyn, please do vote in the poll if you just joined us. Would you vote for the Independent Alliance in the 2029 election? Should they have a candidate in your constituency? That is, hypothetically. Yes, no, or if you're unsure at the moment, please select one of the three options. Of course, Corbyn, I don't want to say spearheading, but probably the most well-known out of the 5 potential candidates so far. Anyway, onward with the topic in hand, Thames Water. John McDonnell is also going to be attending the protest tomorrow, and he supports the We Own It campaign as well. So, and let's hear from John McDonnell, who is actually still a Labour MP, by the way.
Tomorrow, Thames Water are in court trying to get the court to agree to their £3 billion loan deal. It'll mean if you're one of the 6 million households that use Thames Water, you'll be paying an extra £250. This is a company that's completely failed. It's a privatisation that's failed. So what we need to do is get the government simply to bring it back into public ownership. And there's legislation that enables us to do that. Tony Blair used it in the past. 90% of water now is across Europe is owned by the public. It isn't a privatised profiteering company like Thames Water. So tomorrow I'm urging people now to join We Own It outside the court, 10:30, to protest at this disgraceful deal that's being stitched up against our interests.
Well, there you go. We might have a couple of people listening to the stream right now who are in London. If you can make that protest, if this is an issue that you're passionate about. Public ownership of utilities, for example, and standing up to capitalist greed, please do your utmost to get down there. I know it's on a weekday. I know it's early. But yeah, please do your best there and check out the We Own It campaign as well. That was John McDonnell there. Just queuing up even clip from Marina Purkiss. This was on Jeremy Vine's thing earlier. She was in debate with Recce Mogg's wife, who I have to be honest, I've never seen speak before. Like I said, it looks like she's going for a TV career. Obviously her husband's political career's gone down the pan. They've had a stab at reality TV. The series is cancelled. Yes, cancelled in the legitimate sense, not in the not in the right wing, you know. Things that I like get cancelled because they've got outdated, or they are racist or misogynist or transphobic. Anyway. So there's a segment here. And well, you can expect, you know, she comes out fighting on behalf of the poor old shareholders, doesn't she? Won't someone give them a thought? Please get out your small violins and your big box of tissues, people, because the shareholders, you see, they don't want to lose any money. They don't want to lose it. The line on the graph has got to keep going up, and it might go down. And the company that's been running to ground might have to suffer a loss. I know it sounds unthinkable. It sounds unthinkable, doesn't it? Politics Live, welcome to the chat. Oh, I actually read that in Recce Mogg's voice, just him in a wig Hello, I'm Jessica Rees-Mogg. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Although, like I said, it's the first time I've seen her speaking, so until we actually see them together, and we're assured that neither of them is a robot or a puppet, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, or a shapeshifter. Should we go to David Icke Town? No, just kidding. Just kidding. I won't be satisfied though until I see the both of them together in conversation. But I'm not curious enough to go and check out the reality TV show. Definitely not. Marina Purkiss does a really good job here. She's no fan of Starmer either. I think she points that out in this little segment as well. So let's see what's happening. Jessica Rees-Mogg.
Marina in the Telegraph, no water firms fined over sewage dumps. I don't get this. This doesn't seem right to me. Because they've been dumping the sewage, but apparently not fined. What's going on?
Yeah, because essentially we've got a system which is broken again, because we've got a regulator that is in cahoots, basically, or has been previously with the government, and there have been no protections. These regulators were brought in to protect consumers. They were initiated to protect consumers. They've ended up actually existing to protect the water companies. Thankfully now we are seeing that, I mean, again, I'm no massive Labour fan, but the stuff you don't hear about is that Labour have actually brought in a law so that water bosses could be jailed if they continue to cover up sewage dumping in our waters. And again, by the way, isn't something that happened as much prior to Brexit. I know it's going to come up a lot today. But we have got an issue here where we've got water companies who pay out billions and billions and billions in dividends to their shareholders.
That's another good point there. Well, quite a few good points in there. The Tories tore up regulation with where sewage dumping is concerned after we left the European Union. Like she said, she's no fan of Starmer's, but apparently there is legislation coming in that company owners and CEOs could go to prison, and that damn well better get actually implemented, because it literally needs policing, this situation.
Well, absolutely, like just savaging our waters by just dropping God knows how much sewage.
They are allowed to
in
do
there.
some sewage spills. This seems to be because they just don't have the capacity to hang on to. If it floods and you get a lot of runoff and so on, they are allowed to basically dump it.
In the last year, only one water company, Southwest,
So this is she, Jacob Rees-Mogg's wife. That was an accident. A first name will come to me in a moment. Annunziata? Annunziata? Something like that. Let's see what she's got. We'll just put it back to the beginning. Did she say cahoots or coots? Actually, isn't allowed in cahoots anymore. There'll be more on Farage to come. Actually, I don't think I mentioned that at the start of the show. Milkshakes.
Dump it.
In the last year, only one water company, Southwest, actually came out with a profit after paying its tax. They have been asking Ofwat to be allowed to increase bills marginally year after year.
This is the problem, though, because the shareholders still get massive dividends. They're always protected whilst the service itself is run down, and then the taxpayers are expected to foot the bill. You're describing capitalism. You're describing the tactics of it and how it seizes public money. That's you're not doing very well to defend your own argument just by describing what a problem it is to have it privatised instead of nationalised.
Yeah, so that they can invest in the sewage treatment.
Helena Ann Beatrice Wentworth Fitzwilliam de Chair, Lady Recce Mogg. De Chair, yes, of course, I remember that part. De Chair. De Chair. Yeah, of course. I've mentioned it before for some reason on a live stream. Helena Ann Beatrice Wentworth Fitzwilliam de Chair, Lady Recce Mogg. It just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Imagine how wide a parking space is. You could get two Arctic trucks side by side in there.
In the infrastructure, we know it's crumbling and that mains water pipes burst reasonably often in London.
Yeah, shares. The shares. They should have used the French word. Unfortunately, I keep interrupting her too much. I know you're clinging on to her every word, people.
Done that.
And they haven't had the ability to do that because they haven't been allowed to make the money. They've been losing. They have been losing money every year. You can't pay a dividend if you've got a negative income. So
they have. We know the water companies have paid out £2.5 billion in dividends in the last 2 years.
£2.5 billion over the last 2 years. A classic lie there, and then classic rebuttal as well from Marina Purkiss. She's obviously done her homework before she came on the show, unlike Helena Ann Beatrice Wentworth Fitzwilliam de Chair's Lady Recce Mogg there. And in another part of the interview that I've not got in this segment, she denied something that Recce Mogg himself had said, something Marina Purkiss brought up. And there's actual footage of him in Parliament making the very claims that she said, which, God, I'm not going to say, you know who denied.
Years, while racking up billions and billions of debt, and then they expect us to pay hikes of 21% in our water bills.
None of them are actually making any money. They have been
asking
to. They have an obligation to. That is how companies.
They are. The shareholders are, at least. And it means, the staff are unfortunate enough to work for them will have seen the wages stagnating. There will have been cuts, departmental cuts, redundancies, this kind of thing. It's always, the bottom rung that goes first in capitalism. Protect the shareholders.
What about an obligation to the consumer?
Shareholders, to a huge extent,
about an obligation?
Hang on, don't just interrupt you. Is your point?
They're not British. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Famously, the lowest pension in Europe. Famously, pensioners have got so much money that they can afford to invest millions of pounds and speculate it on the stock market. That's not to say that some won't own a small amount of shares. That's a ridiculous claim. Don't expect Jeremy Vine to come in with proper facts anyway. He's not the best mediator by a long shot. But that's, again, another patent lie.
Your point is that the water companies can't raise money unless their shareholders invest, and they won't invest unless they get dividends. Is that right?
No, Ofwat hasn't allowed them. And I think it's a complete failure of yet another quango that hasn't been properly overseen.
Would you nationalise it? Put it back
I think
water
if they
doesn't
are,
seem
if
to have
they are,
worked.
I would nationalise it. If they are
Yeah.
failing and they are literally their resource falls from the sky and they still can't make it work, then absolutely nationalise it.
Yeah, you should. No free plug for you, sir. Sorry. Absolutely should be nationalised. So they're going asking for over £3 billion from the court. At the same time, they've paid out billions to shareholders. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. And it's going to see customers' bills go up by about £250 a year. That's pretty much the way it stands at the moment. So I'll keep you posted on that. Obviously, the court judgment's tomorrow. There's going to be a protest down there. Just a reminder, get down there and use your voices if you can. Oh, I'll win. That is something I would not like to imagine. Oh, no. Oh, goodness me. Coochie fornication. To share. De chaise longue. Du chaise longue. Are we getting a little distracted with all this? I'm totally going to forget that name the next time she comes up. I'll do my best, but I'll just probably start off with what's her name, Chairface. No, I'm not Recce Mogg in a wig. It's because of all the quangos, you see. Show me. I demand to see the two of them speaking in the same shots, in the same frame. Not for too long. Definitely not in the way that Alwyn was describing either. Let's soldier on, shall we? Where to next? Okay, we'll go here next. Just very quickly, this is more of an update than a breaking story or topic. I mentioned a while back the woman who threw a milkshake at Nigel Farage earlier on in the year has been sentenced. Let's just quickly keep you updated with that story. She was earlier found guilty. Just reposition that now. We all remember this, of course. He was outside the Moon and Starfish pub in Clacton-on-Sea, which was probably the last time he was seen in Clacton-on-Sea, let's be honest, when he was attacked. Victoria Thomas Boyne hurled the drink at Farage as he left the Wetherspoons, having just launched his candidacy, so she's been given a suspended sentence, 13 weeks, suspended for 12 months. She's got to pay £150 in compensation, do 120 hours of unpaid work, plus pay £450 in court costs, so £600 altogether, and a few weeks worth of unpaid work. But this is the thing, you know, not that he's sensitive or dramatic. Heaven forbid I'd suggest anything like that. His response to it is somewhat hilarious. He says, we now live in a country where you can assault a member of parliament and not go to prison. Thomas Bowen, 25 from Clacton, admitted assault and beating criminal damage at a previous court hearing. There's just a couple of things wrong with that, Nigel. That thing about assaulting an MP and not going to prison. There's a clip actually. Let's just remind ourselves of the moment itself there. Oh, a bit of buffering. Mostly the remnants of the attack there in that clip. But anyway, this thing. So what's the quote again? We now live in a country where you can assault a member of parliament and not go to prison. First of all, Nigel, this took place in June 2024, and the election was in July 2024, so this was a full month before he was unfortunately elected to represent Clacton-on-Sea, which he hasn't been doing very much of. As I said earlier. But he also alluded on social media to an incident with Jeremy Corbyn once when he was actually hit on the head by a guy. Now, the guy had an egg in his hand when he hit him. He smashed it, but he actually cut his head open, and Corbyn had to go to a hospital over it. He didn't just get an egg thrown at him, which has happened to Nigel before, of course, or simply get milkshaked. And that perpetrator of the attack against Corbyn was given a prison sentence, but Corbyn was an MP at the time, and it wasn't just a splashy bit of milkshake. He actually got his head split open, so quite a difference there. Just get your facts straight, Nigel. She told officers she did not regret her actions. Farage's security officer had his suit damaged by the milkshake, and she was also ordered to pay him £17.50 in compensation for the criminal damage. Quite a bit of an expensive milkshake. £17.50. So that's that, really. There he is, holding one up. Yeah, obviously not there. Not getting in with the BDS there, no surprise. Nigel? That's a good point, Floor Snake. The feelings don't care about facts. She should be given free milkshakes for life. Yeah, nice one, Clive. As long as they're not from you know where. Second, just getting something else queued up. Let's see, what should we get on to next? Just have a quick look at this raw mail thing. Very quick skim over that. Just one sec, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. So we saw the clip earlier on of all of those times that Keir Starmer was pretending to promote a certain policy which he's now gone back on. Amongst those would have been public ownership of Royal Mail, and now we're in a situation where it's been sold off to a Czech billionaire. Great job, Keith. Sigh. But who is the new owner? Daniel Kretinsky is set to become the new owner after the sale of its parent firm was approved by the government. The Czech entrepreneur has been described as a quiet sphinx, whatever that's supposed to mean, for his inscrutable style. So who is the low-key billionaire, and what could new ownership mean for his historic British company? According to the Times Rich List, he's now worth over 6 billion. That's up 2 billion on 2023. Of course, the wealth gap ever increasing. You're either in the club or you're not. So he's sort of done this quite stealthily, as the article alludes to generally. But what's he into with his other business holdings? Let's have a look. Well, this'll get the hackles up with certain people. His company transports Russian gas via pipelines that run through Ukraine, the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Well, wouldn't you know it? But he's got quite a lot of holdings in the UK as well. Visa Equity Investment, a private firm which is registered in Luxembourg. He's got investments in Sainsbury's, Foot Locker and West Ham United, in which he holds a 27% stake. I didn't know that. Owns over a quarter of West Ham United. But this is set to be awful, of course. Huge step away from getting Royal Mail fully back into public ownership. He's got expansive properties in upmarket areas, Billionaires Row on Bishop Avenue, Heath Hall in London, 65 million that cost, and he once rented it to Justin Bieber for 25 grand a week. He's got another €21.5 million Parisian townhouse down the road from the Elysee Palace from Russian oligarch and fertilizer magnate Dmitry Rybolovlev and his ex-wife. Mr. Kretinsky also owns a share of Villa private island resort in the Maldives. Just finally, though, he has said that he would not walk away from the requirement to deliver letters throughout the UK 6 days a week, as long as he's running the service. That was something that's been a topic of debate recently. Royal Mail dropping Saturday deliveries, and he's agreed in principle with unions that include workers getting a 10% share of any dividends paid out to Mr. Kretinsky, as well as the formation of a workers group that will meet monthly with directors of Royal Mail to give employees a bigger voice on how it's run. Well, we'll see what comes of that, but it's understood that he wants to rival the likes of Every or even Amazon. We'll see about that as well, because we sure know how they make a profit, and it ain't pretty. It certainly isn't. So if he's going to be the next Bezos, then certainly no thank you. Some hints about more representation for workers, but again, we know how companies like Amazon feel about unionisation, protest, strike, that kind of thing. I've been out a few times myself supporting Amazon workers at protests and demos. There's actually a lot of crossover there with environmental protests as well. Fun fact, the R in Kretinsky has a little accent over it, which makes it one of the rarest and hardest to pronounce sounds in the world. Is it more than a rolling R? I can do Kretinsky. Just speaking phonetically as well, you notice certain accents, and it must be to do with Siberia, you know, formerly being more landlocked with North Europe than it used to be, but Scottish accents and Siberian accents, for example, with rolling R's, that sort of thing, there's a sort of link there. I'm getting a bit distracted. Well, Politics Clive, you couldn't have timed that comment better. That it could have been worse. It could have been Prince Andrew sending spam letters about how he needs funds to unlock his inheritance. That provides me with a wonderful segue into the next story, which is just an update on what we were talking about yesterday. There's been this association between Prince Andrew and an alleged Chinese spy, as we know. As we said yesterday. Today China have come out and made further denials about the claims, but there he's looking quite sullen there. He's not going to be invited to the Christmas party at Sandringham. Oh dear. So he's expected to honourably withdraw from royal family events to avoid being a distraction. This is, he's been far too much of a distraction from the royal family, you know, carrying on with the grift, taking millions of pounds from the NHS, from charities, this sort of thing that's been reported lately. Perhaps if they just keep, you know, sticking Kate in front of the cameras, and talking about whatever kind of dress that she's got on or whatever, keep getting the footage of her with the sideways coat hanger lodged in her mouth. It'll perhaps, you know, wash over all of this. Because they'll still be, you know, oh yes, but isn't this nice? And they do that. I don't know, you can't see me, this is a faceless channel. But that sort of pompousy thing with the slow nodding of the head while they have their eyes shut. Oh, isn't it wonderful? Oh yes, that sort of gesture. Yeah, that's just going to make us forget about all of this. So, obviously now the person in question, the alleged spy, has been named. That was revealed today as well. Yang Tengbo, also known as Chris Yang. He's been banned from entering the UK. In a statement on Monday, the Chinese businessman denied being a spy and said he had done nothing wrong or unlawful. I think there have been other denials from the Chinese government as well. So it's microwave meal for one for Andy this year. What else have we got here? Well, that was it. It was decided that his ban should remain because of suspicions that he had been involved in an elite capture operation, which is a tactic of the Chinese state to exert influence in Western nations. Previously, in a statement, Andrews said he'd ceased all contact with the Chinese businessman. But he can't half pick his friends, this guy, can he? And he's already been cut off, and now he's not invited to the party. Yeah, if you've not worn your small violin down too much in thinking about the shareholders of Thames Water, please do keep playing a few songs at least for Andy there. Oh God, what a disgrace. What an absolute disgrace. Honourably, yeah. Laughable. You're right there, Kit. You're certainly spot on there. Right then, people, we'll get over to matters in the Middle East just quickly. A couple of updates there. Thanks a lot for sticking it out with me here on the live stream, by the way, everybody. Thanks to everybody who's hit the thumbs up button so far. And if you've not done so already, please do oblige me. And that'll really help boost the channel. Dim sum. I'm liking the humour in the chat today. We've had good puns. The punnage is strong. The punnage is strong here, as always. Where was I then? Yeah, just a quick couple of updates about goings on in the Middle East. Now, apparently, according to Assad himself, he says he didn't intend to leave Syria. Not sure how much you can believe this, but he's claiming that he went to a military base in the Latakia province to oversee combat operations, only to see that Syrian troops had fucked off, basically. They'd abandoned the positions. Hamaimim Air Base, hope I pronounced that correctly, had also come under intensified attack by drone strikes, and the Russians decided to airlift him to Moscow, he says. That's been another part about today's revelations. That's not in this article, but I do want to bring it up. It more or less confirms, again, something that we've suspected for a while. In fact, that America doesn't really care about Syria. They certainly don't care about the citizens of Syria. They just want to use that country as the playing field, the fighting ground for a proxy war against Russia, the same as they're doing in the Ukraine as well. Obviously, seizure of land and assets and other things that comes with it is an incentive also, but ultimately this is what we're seeing. Russia do have large military installations within Syria. They've got a lot invested in there, and now what's happening is they're trying to stop Russia from being able to get that equipment out of there. That's going to be one of the conditions of the formation, the apparent formation of the replacement government, is that America are insisting that Russia can't get their stuff back. Yeah, so it goes on to say, with no viable means of leaving the base, Moscow requested that the base's command arrange an immediate evacuation to Russia on the evening of Sunday the 8th of December. This took place the day after the fall of Damascus, following the collapse of final military positions and the resulting paralysis of infrastructure. So, don't know how much truth there is to that. Like, they didn't radio in, they didn't ring anyone, they didn't send an email or text to say, you know, we're abandoning this base just in case you happen to come here. Unless, you know, they were overwhelmed so quickly that they didn't have the chance to do so. I'm not sure if that is the case. It might just be trying to save face a little bit, really. So that's just a quick update on the situation at the moment. Elsewhere in the Middle East, unfortunately, we still see in Palestine millions of people cut off in North Gaza, hundreds being killed daily. Their plight also continues. In the north, things seem to have simmered down slightly in Lebanon, but there's a huge amount of suffrage and displacement also continuing there. Let's just see what's happening in the chat. Oh, we're still having a dig at poor old Prince Andrew, are we? Reptiles don't sweat, that's correct, Clive. They're cold-blooded, so they don't regulate their temperature in the same way that we do as mammals. That's quite true. That's quite true. David Icke did come up earlier in the stream, but only in a tongue-in-cheek fashion. Well, I should just clarify, I don't believe in that. While I'm always sceptical about certain official narratives, I wouldn't go as far as to say that I endorse any of those views supported by David Icke with regards to the royal family, that is. No, for me they're just, old-fashioned land grabbers and leeches of public money. Nothing to do with shape-shifting lizards. It's a fascinating thing about David Icke. From being a fairly well-known, at least in England from what I understand, sports presenter, and then all of a sudden in an interview, was it with Terry Wogan or Michael Aspel, something like that, he claimed, I don't know if it was a live interview, that is a one-to-one sit-down sort of thing, late night TV talk show, claimed he was the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Yeah, which pretty much ended his career. And then the next thing, he's going around flogging books, and then later on the internet making all of these claims about the royal family. And if you've ever seen any of his actual presentations, his videos, which unfortunately I've been subjected to, mostly out of pure morbid curiosity, but starts off in terms of framework with some relatively agreeable things actually about where wealth is held, about capitalism, this kind of thing. And the next thing you know, he's pulling up slides of very sort of semi-crudely drawn images of lizards, but anthropomorphized, as it were, with crowns on their heads as some sort of form of proof that this is what's going on. There will be no video footage, there will be no certified testimony, there will be no pictures, not even attempts at photoshopped images taken from real pictures of members of the royal family. No, a drawing, a drawing, or a series of drawings. That's not proof, David. That's not proof. So yeah, that's David Icke. Didn't imagine I'd be going on so much about David Icke on the stream tonight. There you go. Yeah, it's all bollocks. I can't back that up. I can't follow that up. Neither can he. Oh, what else have we got in the chat? Upon waking up from hibernation, the Andrew Lizard likes to go to the Chinese takeaway for a spring roll. Yeah, I'll send someone out for it. Make sure you don't tip though. He's got to save some money. Okay, people, I'll be bringing the stream to a close shortly, but as always, please do hang around. Going to check out who we can raid into after the result of the poll. Of course, that's coming up in just a moment. So before I do that, I'll see who I might raid into. Dr. Davies, great to see you. Don't worry about being late. You can always catch up. Don't worry, you've not missed the end of the poll if you want to vote. I'm just checking about a potential raid at the moment for anyone who's joining me, wondering why nothing's happening. Oh, wonderful. We've got Helena at No Justice, MTG. Wonderful content. Do stick around for the redirect the raid into Helena. And I must insist as well that whilst you're there, you hit the subscribe and thumbs up buttons also. But I know you'll do that if you're not familiar already, because you're awesome, wonderful comrades. That's all set up. So then, people, the poll. Let's reveal your thoughts, the results. I'll just quickly talk about my thoughts as well before we say our goodbyes. So we have the winner was yes with 56% of the votes, no 6% and 38% unsure. So the results should just be coming up there now. But I'll be honest, for my 2 cents at the moment, I'd be unsure. I wouldn't want this to detract from the Green vote, for example. There'd have to be some sort of agreement, some sort of alliance as well, perhaps with other independent socialists, and in Scotland, the SNP as well, for example. So I would be unsure. There were some who were perhaps hoping he'd potentially join the Greens. I think that was a bit of a pipe dream. I saw that mentioned a few times on social media and whatnot. Didn't really persuade me to think that he would go that way. But if it can genuinely create an interest in getting people to vote for genuine socialist parties once more, then I have to obviously support that overall as a concept. I won't get into the ins and outs of potential splitting of the vote specifically, but that was just where my opinion was. Yeah, of course, though, we need things like PR or alternative top-up voting, and then you wouldn't have these sort of dilemmas, would you? You could, in a fashion, for example, vote for the Greens and the Independent Alliance as well, or vote for two independent candidates, or whatever you like. Yeah, Clive, where the other candidates are concerned, a lot of them obviously spoke a lot about Gaza in the campaigns. One of them actually opened his address, his victory address, with "This was for Gaza." If you'll forgive me, some of the names of the other candidates are coming to me right now. They are brand new, of course, apart from Corbyn. It's the first time in Parliament for a lot of them. And obviously, if someone like Corbyn's considering joining them in league, then you'd have to assume that they have other socialist policies as well. Thanks for throwing up the flags there. Great stuff. Right, yeah, I won't dwell on that topic too long. Just wanted to get your initial thoughts on that. But thanks a lot for everybody who voted. It's good to see that there were only a few outright no's. If you want to let me know what that was for, you might already be affiliated with a party and therefore you're beholden to them, whether it's the Greens or perhaps you know one of the independent candidates in your area, for example. So, yeah, feel free to share your thoughts. More flags coming in the chat as well. Solidarity. Okay, people, I'll call it a night there for now and get raided into Helena and Justice, so stick around, don't go anywhere. Thanks for joining me tonight. I'll definitely be catching you on Wednesday for Brews at 10, PMQs, of course, on Wednesday, so hope to see you there, if not before. Take care, everybody. My Left eye, be seeing you soon.